Excuse me. Is this how I get the wind down Wednesdays? I don't always have vanilla, but when I do, it comes straight from the blueberry. I don't always have vanilla, but when I do, it comes straight from the blueberry. I don't always have vanilla, but when I do, the leaf is in the leaf.
Hey, everybody. Thank you for coming in. Sorry, I couldn't hear myself for a second there. I think I turned myself all the way down for some reason. All right, we're good. Hey, thank you guys for coming tonight. And I know this is weird because I'm usually on super late at night, but I had to make some changes because my son is going to school. And so therefore, staying up all night and taking him to school in the morning does not work out for me. So I had to change some things around. So thank you guys for coming in. I really appreciate it. We have 10 people in right now, and I'm sure we'll get a few more. Let's see who all is in chat. Looks like Star Homestead. Thank you for coming. Yozi, thank you for being here. Al, thank you for being here. Moon, thank you for being here. Rebel, thank you so much. Who else? Gardner Leah, thank you for coming in. Blue. Hey, Guardian Prepping. Thank you for coming in, guys. I really appreciate it. I have a special guest tonight, and you know how you get those lapsed moments in your life where you're like, oh, you think something happens like, oh, I've known this person, for 5 years, and then you really think about it. I've known this person for a very long time, and they've been on my Facebook for a very long time. And so I thought it would be really awesome to interview them. They have a really cool background in all different kinds of stuff, radio, production, and photography, and all different kinds of stuff. So I thought it'd be super cool to interview him. And so let's go ahead and we'll bring him up. Hey, Passamaquoddy. Hey, Bob. Thank you for being here. Homestead Aquarius. Hey, Marshmallow Man. Thank you all for being here. I seriously appreciate it, especially for the time change. I know that was weird for some people to make it at 7 o'clock. So, all right, so let's go ahead. I'm going to introduce my guest. This is Joe Kleon, and yeah, so here he is right now.
Hey, there I am. Hello, how you doing?
Hello.
Thanks for having me on.
Yeah, thank you. I really appreciate it.
I haven't seen your show before, but judging from the intro, it's about mostly gardening and poop. Is that right?
Yes. I have members to my YouTube, and as a joke, I would always be on panel, and we'd have masses of groups of people on panel, and somebody would turn off the camera, and I would joke. I'd be like, "Oh, well, they're just taking a shit." Like just joking around. And so it just kind of went from there. And so my members are called the Poop Troop. and I have t-shirts and stuff like that, and it's just a giant joke. So when people come in and they don't know the channel, or if they haven't been around for a while, they're like, what the hell is this?
I didn't know it would be such a shitty experience. I don't know.
But it's so much fun, and people laugh, and we have a really good time, and yeah, so. But yeah, it's a gardening channel.
I appreciate it.
You're welcome. I was going to explain that to you because a lot of people see the intro, they're like, what the hell is this?
You should do a close-up of their face during the intro when they're seeing it for the first time and not tell them.
So
get the video of them being shocked watching all that stuff.
Yeah, and the beaver thing is a big joke too, because a lot of people don't know this, but like, it was like maybe 6 months ago, I said, a lot of people don't know that imitation vanilla comes from a beaver's anal glands. And nobody knew that. Like, they were really shocked. Like, imitation raspberry and vanilla come from a Norwegian beaver. And everybody's like, no. So now it's just been like a giant joke, and nobody eats anything that has imitation vanilla.
I was afraid to ask about the beaver because I knew no matter what the explanation was, it probably wasn't going to be good.
So, and then of course I have emojis and stuff in side chat to reflect everybody's love for beaver and poop.
Did you say emo Jesus?
No, emojis.
Oh, okay. I'm like, oh my God, emo Jesus is the coolest name ever.
Yeah. So, well, thank you so much for doing this. I really appreciate it.
I think I'm going to make a screen name somewhere as emo Jesus. I think I have to do
that. That would be awesome. So yeah. Where are you at right now? What city are you in?
Parma.
Oh, okay. Okay. Yeah. So you're about an hour from me.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. I wondered about that. So how exactly and where exactly did you come across or decided to get into radio?
John Carroll University.
Okay.
I was being suspended from high school, actually, for smoking with a girl in the boys' bathroom. And I was sitting outside the principal's office waiting to get called in and get suspended. There was about a week left in school. I was a senior. And while I was sitting on this bench waiting to get suspended, there was a little bulletin board above the bench, and there was a sign-up sheet for career day at John Carroll University. And this is in Cuyahoga Falls. I had no idea. I'd never heard of John Carroll before. I didn't even know what it was. But it was a day to get away from school, so I grabbed the little tab and signed up before I got a 2-day suspension. And the next week, a couple days before school was out, I went to this career day thing. And I was roaming around the campus, and they had like speeches and little seminars with like the TV news people of the day, like Joel Rose and Fred Griffith and Wilma Smith and people like that. And I really wasn't interested in any of that. So I was just kind of roaming around the campus, and I came upon the radio station. And I was interested in radio from a young age because I had some experience at a radio station as a little kid. So I walked in there, and there's this guy with long hair with a Led Zeppelin shirt on, and I've got a Rush shirt on, and that's a pretty preppy campus,
Yeah.
And so everybody else has got their, Izod shirts or whatever, And so we kind of became fast friends. And 10, 15 minutes later, we're back in his dorm, using his bong. And he was the program director at the college radio station. And
wow.
He said if I went to school there, he could get me my own show the first day that I started school. And I wasn't even planning on going to college, but I told my mom I wanted to go to college. I signed up there, and I started my radio show at John Carroll. And that guy has been one of my best friends my entire life. His name's Eric Erock Sosinski, plays bass for Wish You Were Here. And he was Michael Stanley's bass player for about 25 or 26 years.
Oh, okay.
They're actually playing at the Agora in Cleveland this Saturday, Wish You Were Here. So if you're a Pink Floyd fan, head up to the Agora. It's going to be a great show. Yeah,
that sounds like fun. I haven't been, well, I'm a mom now. I haven't been to any concerts in a long time.
I haven't either, because of COVID and stuff. I haven't been to many at all either.
Yeah.
So I did that for 8 years. And it wasn't the greatest way to start for 8 years. I mean, it was because I had complete freedom to do whatever I wanted. I realized that if I just called these record companies, I could get pretty big bands on the phone and do interviews like Metallica and all the big metal bands, of the day. They weren't huge like they are now back in the mid 80s, but so I started doing all these interviews, doing this radio show and stuff, and I was able to get myself a job in the mailroom at Warner Electro Atlantic Records when they had an office in Cleveland, in Independence, actually. And there was about 30 labels associated with those 3 labels, Warner Electro and Atlantic. And this guy from Atco was a big radio guy in the 70s. His name's Tom Kent, really great guy. Liked my radio stuff, and he worked all their records to the local radio station. So he helped me get a job at WONE in Akron.
Oh, okay.
And that was my first real, commercial radio job. And I started doing some work on WAKR, which is, their sister AM station. I did that for a year, and then I moved to Savannah, Georgia, and did a morning show on WZAT, which was a privately owned station down there, like an alternative rock station. That was kind of all the rage in the mid-90s. And the program director was a coked-out son of the owner, and so I just couldn't stand him for very long. And I went across the street to their sister station, or their competition, WIXV I-95, and I worked there for a while. Went up to Vermont for a year to do some winter sports broadcasting in Woodstock, Vermont, doing like network stuff on about 60 different stations every day, which was really fun.
Yeah.
Really helped me hone my broadcasting skills.
Yeah.
From just being free-formed at John Carroll, where I could talk for 10 seconds or 2 minutes. If I was doing a TV report, broadcast, and it was over 60.5 seconds or under 59.5, I had to redo it.
Wow.
So that really honed that was the best radio job ever as far as just honing my skills as a broadcaster.
That's amazing. Thanks, Garden State Gardener. I'm sorry. Garden State Gardener, thank you for donating. I really appreciate it. It helps out my channel. So thank you so much. And
to try and make a short story long, I went back to Savannah for a little while. And then E-Rock, who I just talked about, had worked at WNCX as the traffic director.
Oh, okay.
Not auto traffic, but scheduling commercials.
Right. Yeah.
And the overnight position came open on WNCX, and so he helped me get that job. And I always wanted to be on the air in Cleveland, so I moved back to take the overnight job at NCX, and I was the last overnight guy that they had on WNCX. And then I did some other radio jobs. I did Rock 107 for about 5 years, where I met you.
Yeah.
Because you were interning there, is that right?
Yeah. Yeah.
And then Q92 in Canton and some other stuff. And I met Michael Stanley when I was at WNCX, and I used to fill in do his radio show for him when he wasn't available. And I got a camera, started taking pictures. I was taking pictures of Wish You Were Here, and Michael started having me come out to shoot his shows.
That's awesome.
It was amazing, and I didn't know what the hell I was doing, but I just kept shooting these shows, and he used my photos on some of his CDs, and I had a lot of connections just through my work with everywhere. And so I started requesting photo passes for shows. And at the time, the radio business was going down the toilet. When all the consolidation happened and, the 3 companies were buying up every station that existed. So I kind of graduated out of radio and into photography. And by the time COVID hit, I shot 1,500 shows in about 18 years.
Oh my gosh.
The last 5 or 6 years, I was doing about 150 a year. It was a huge grind, but it was a lot of fun.
Yeah.
I work a day job at home. So I'd be sitting here working my day job, and then I'd go shoot a show, be up till 3 doing the photos, and repeat over and over.
That is so cool.
I was kind of glad when COVID came, because it gave me just a little break, because I was exhausted after 5, 6, 7 years of doing 150 shows. And that included like portraits and stuff like that, weddings and that kind of stuff. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
We could do a whole separate show on my wedding photography.
I was just going to ask you, how is that after doing rock shows, and then you do a wedding, and the brides can be such prima donnas.
So
how do you deal with that?
One night I'm smoking a joint with Eddie Money backstage, and the next night I'm dealing with the bridezilla and her mom.
I wondered. That's hilarious.
Yeah, weddings. I used to only do weddings for friends and friends of friends, because stranger weddings are just. I had some really bizarro stranger weddings experiences. Really strange.
I can imagine.
But if it's a friend, it's relaxed. They're cool with me around because they know me. I'm cool with them. I I usually would do like an engagement session before, a couple weeks or a month before, so we had already worked together, and and that made it a little more relaxed. But yeah, the weddings are a whole different ball of wax, man.
Wow.
Crazy, crazy people. Everybody's drinking. Drunken family members that hate each other. Not a good combination.
No, that's horrible. Yeah, I can't imagine that. That's horrible.
I like doing other portrait work, family portraits, like senior graduation photos and stuff. That stuff is
Yeah.
fun. As long as there's not an old bunch of elderly drunken people that hate each other around, it's pretty good.
Exactly. That's so funny.
So yeah, the photo thing was just I bought a camera to go on my honeymoon in 2002 that I couldn't afford. I'd maybe taken 100 pictures in my life before that with like disposable cameras or whatever.
Yeah.
And we went to the Mayan ruins at Chichen Itza and
That's
Tulum
so cool.
and some of those places. And I had my camera on auto. I mean, I didn't know what I was doing. And I just pointed and shot and got some really great pictures. And I was really happy. But then I got home and I'm like, oh my God, I just got this $1,200 camera that I can't afford. Put it on my credit card. What am I going to do with this thing now? I was thinking about selling it. And do you remember the Art Bell show?
Maybe.
It was an overnight syndicated radio show. It's still on now. It's called Coast to Coast AM.
Oh, yeah. I know what that is.
I love that show. Just the bizarreness of it. UFOs one night and conspiracy theories.
Oh, I love it. I love the UFO talk.
I was always up late anyway,
Yeah.
so I listen to that show all the time. So it's like a week after my honeymoon, and they say that the next night they're going to do a show on the Mayans. So I emailed them and said I had these photos, and I sent them a couple, and they said, we'll put it on the front page of our website. And that show is huge. I mean, that show was syndicated in 50 countries or whatever.
It's freaking awesome.
Their website got hundreds of thousands of hits a night, and this is back in 2002,
Yeah.
So they put the photos up. They put a link to my page of the photos, and I sold like $400 worth of photos that night.
Nice.
I'm like, holy shit! I paid off a third of this camera. I'm gonna make more money and pay this camera off. So I just started shooting stuff and shooting local bands and shooting just whatever I could.
Yeah.
A lot of times for free just to do it. And it just built and built and built. And once I, like a band like Collective Soul or somebody would come to town that nobody had really heard of at that point. Their first album was just out or whatever. And I'd get a photo pass and shoot them. And every time I shot a band like that, it was easier to get the next one and the next one.
Right.
Then I started shooting for some magazines and stuff. And I don't even know how it took off the way it did, but it just like dominated my life for a good dozen years. It's
so much fun.
And now I've just got this huge portfolio of these 1,500 shows. And if you count the multi bands that are on every show, there's probably 2,500 to 3,000 artists.
Wow. So the Michael Stanley Band used you for your photography for their albums. Any other bands have done that?
Yeah, it's actually Michael Stanley and the Resonators. The Michael Stanley Band MSB was over in the 80s.
Oh, okay.
And Michael took a break for a while when he was doing PM Magazine. And then he came back with came back doing music, I think in the early 90s, or around 90. Some of the diehard fans will chastise me for not knowing that, but what the exact date is, but it was around there.
There's a lot of diehard Michael Stanley
project called the
fans,
Ghost Poets, and then he came back and he did in his career, I think, over 40 albums.
Wow.
And he was just a master songwriter.
Yeah.
If you listen to any of the last 10 albums, the songwriting is just so good. It's just, and that's the one thing he said he strived to be the most, that he wanted to be the best songwriter. And he really was a great songwriter, great person to work with, treated everybody. So I could tell you 50 stories of the great things that he did for me. He was just a wonderful, wonderful person. And I know I speak for everybody that knew him when I say that I really, really miss him. He was a really, really great guy.
Yeah.
And just a lot of fun doing those shows. And man, oh man, he's the best storyteller, best conversationalist ever. Just a really great guy. Yeah, there's been other bands, not a lot of really huge ones. I've licensed some photos to bands for their website and stuff. And I've, when Rush comes to when Geddy Lee and Alex Lifeson came to the Rock Hall for Geddy Lee's book that he was promoting, They used my photos on their social media and stuff like
Oh,
that. I haven't done a whole lot of album cover type of stuff with a lot of local bands and stuff, but not really nationally.
yeah,
I've done photos of all those bands, from Bieber to Miley Cyrus to Barry Manilow to Slayer and everybody in between.
nice.
And a lot of those, some of those have been used by the bands and stuff like that, but not really a whole lot of official capacity.
I know you're a metal fan, so how weird is it to go to a Miley Cyrus concert?
Um, I didn't shoot those shows for a long time, but to be honest, they're actually as far as a visual sense, they're better than a classic rock or a
Yeah,
metal show, unless it's like a huge band, because those artists aren't about musical performance. Um, most of the music is piped in. They're just dancing around, and it's just visual with big LED screens and giant set
right.
designs and stuff. So visually, those shows are a hell of a lot better than Bruce Springsteen with 2 lights on them.
Yeah.
And I like shooting those shows. I mean, when I'm 5 feet away from the stage, when the lights go down and 20,000 people erupt, it doesn't matter who's on the stage. It's exciting,
Yeah.
and I loved it. And it was really a challenge. I could put you in a field for an hour and get the best picture of you ever, just because I can keep changing my settings until I get the perfect picture. But when you're in a concert setting and the lights are changing every 5 seconds,
That's tough.
getting those shots is hard. And I could shoot at Blossom or the Quicken Loans Arena 100 times, and every show would be different and be just as difficult, because the lighting and everything is always different.
Yeah.
I think, talking to other photographers, concert photography and fast moving sports are the two really most difficult types of
Yeah.
photography.
This
And that's
action,
why I
the
like that.
action part.
I
Yeah.
I could never rest on my laurels, or I could never go and be comfortable, because you never knew what to expect.
Right.
I would watch videos of bands before I would shoot them from the tour, where I'd get lighting cues, and if they jumped off the drum riser during the second song, I was ready because I watched the video from 2 nights before. And a
Yeah.
lot of times they do the same stuff, but still, when you've got those really short lighting banks, man, it's really hard. You keep looking at the screen. Are people making fun of me in the comments?
No, I just watched the side chat. We got a lot of newer people. I have about 30 people in here. So thank you so much. Bear Truth, Hedges, Old Ways. Thank you guys.
Hopefully I brought at least one person.
Oh yeah, I'm sure. Or they probably haven't commented. I've got people in here that they watch but they don't comment. So thank you guys for showing up and hanging out with us. Make sure you hit the thumbs up. That helps me on the YouTube algorithm.
And send Courtney money.
Yeah, please. No. No.
So I got something flying around here. Got a little gnat or something is buzzing around my head.
But yeah, so I knew you from Rock 107.
Mhm.
And
that was around 2003, 4, 5, something like that.
it was, I think, around 2005.
Okay, that's what I thought.
Yeah, and I always had a good time. I had a really good time. We're interning there.
When that was in the Little Red House before Clear
Yeah.
Channel gobbled it up, it was great.
Yeah, the Little Red House.
Once Clear Channel gobbled it up, I got fired when Clear Channel, because I used to talk on the air about how I hated Clear Channel.
Yeah.
So when Clear Channel took over the station, of course, the first thing they did was they fired me like a week before the ratings came out, and I was #1 in our target demo.
Yeah, that's crappy.
I was #1, 7 to midnight, like males 25 to 54, which was our target demo.
Nice. Yeah.
And they fired me right before that ratings book came out. And the guy who was in charge, the program director, I think is the operations manager now for all the iHeart radio stations, Keith Kennedy.
Yeah, he is. I have him on my Facebook page.
Sorry to hear that. He's a huge douche. But anyway, go ahead.
No, it's okay. I knew he worked. I knew he worked at 107.
Yeah, he was the program director there, I think, for a while or what.
For a little bit, but he was. I was there when he was just like a DJ, I think. Didn't he just do on-air stuff? I don't know. I don't know what he did on the side. I can't remember. That was so long ago. Because
that was the first thing they did when they took over. I think pretty much was fire me. And the program director at the time at Rock 107 was a really good friend of mine named Keith Hamilton. Remember Keith?
Yes.
I met Keith when I was in high school, and I ran away from home, and I was at a runaway shelter in Akron called Safe Landing, and Keith Hamilton was also there. He was from Akron, and we became friends. And we both went into radio, and we ended up both at Rock 107 together. And he was the program
Wow.
director. And talk about a shitty thing for somebody to do. Keith Kennedy made my friend of 10 years or whatever at the time, he made Keith Hamilton fire me because he knew how much Keith Hamilton would hate doing that because we were, friends from high school.
Right.
So rather than just do it himself, he forced Keith Hamilton to call me and fire me.
Wow.
And for that, I will always say, Keith Kennedy, fuck you.
Yeah.
His real name is Daryl Wallace. He hates when people know that.
Oh, wow. I didn't know that. Because, that's what he has on his Facebook. So, you don't,
He has Daryl Wallace on his Facebook?
No, not Daryl.
Oh, yeah, I didn't think so.
Yeah, no.
Yeah, but that was just a really low class thing to do because he knew what good friends we were. And
Yeah.
He just did that to be a dick.
Yeah, for real.
Mm-hmm. Nothing wrong with exposing a dick. Unless you're doing it on Snapchat or something. So that's kind of what I've done in the nutshell, I guess.
Yeah, that's pretty awesome. You've had now, are you doing anything now or are you just chilling?
I'm still doing my day job for the music distributor that I work for. I'm doing some corporate and portrait photography, but not really a lot. After that grind for all those years when COVID hit, I was really bummed because I had a lot of shows booked for 2020.
Yeah.
Stones in Cleveland and some stuff like that. But I was also, once it happened, I was kind of happy just to get out of the grind for a long time.
Right.
And there was only really a handful of artists that were still alive that were on my bucket list that I hadn't photographed. I really didn't care about the new generation of Lizzos and Billie Eilish's and whatever they.
Yeah, I feel so old, like, talking about that. I have no idea. Like,
you know what makes me feel old? I'll see a band that sells out a show at Blossom and I'd never seen their name before in my life. And that makes me feel old.
That's horrible to feel that way. But like that Billie Eilish, I don't listen to her. I have no idea.
She's actually not bad.
You see her everywhere, though.
Yeah, she's actually pretty good. But I really wasn't that interested. A friend has been helping me to kind of get back into doing it. I've requested some shows for the spring, and I think I'm probably going to start maybe not doing 150 a year, but one of the magazines I worked for wants to rehire me.
Nice.
So I think I'm going to get back into it this spring and summer. Probably not in a huge. It depends. I'm going through some shitty personal stuff right now, and once that stuff kind of clears and the dust settles, I'll probably get back into the grind a little bit just because it's fun. And but yeah, it's been an interesting 3-year break, like it has for everyone. I mean, whose life hasn't been affected by COVID?
Right. Yeah. I know, like my life has too. Like it's affected my son because he couldn't be around people. So I'm having to deal with stuff with him.
How old is he?
He's 4.
Okay.
So I'm having to do with speech therapy and stuff like that because he hasn't been socialized. He hasn't been around anybody. Like,
I wonder how younger kids like kindergarten, 1st, 2nd grade, 3rd grade, I wonder how they took to the virtual schooling. That probably had to be hard for them.
Oh, that has to be hard because my son can't even, he doesn't even watch cartoons for very long and he's doing something else. Mm-hmm. So to sit and watch something on his screen, your attention span is just not, for somebody that age, is just not that long. Yeah.
Well, good luck with that. Hope he can adjust.
Yeah, I'm hoping. I have to take him to school. He's going to school this week for like the first time. So I'm trying to get him into speech therapy and get him some help as far as his speech is concerned. But most of the time, I think he's just being stubborn. So
what kid isn't stubborn? I was the most stubborn kid. Oh my God.
Okay, so what was the most memorable band that you have shot photography for?
My favorite band, Rush.
Rush.
I've seen them probably 50 times, more than 50 times live, and I photographed them twice. And that was the ultimate best. I mean, I loved that band from the time I was probably 7 or 8 years old. So to be 5 feet away from them, and it was just incredible. And then when they came to the Rock Hall, Geddy Lee personally posted a link to my photos. And just knowing that he saw my photos was very, very cool. Was a huge thrill. And anytime somebody of that caliber would recognize my photos, it happened a lot. Bands like Queensryche and Hall and Oates and these bands would,
Yeah.
they would message me and ask, some of them would ask permission to use my photos on social media and stuff. And, or they would use them for other reasons. Being, that was always a thrill. But really, anytime someone buys a photo of mine or I shoot a portrait and they like the photo so much that they display it in their house, that's like the biggest compliment for me.
Well, yeah.
You like my photo so much, you'll hang it on your living room wall and you'll see it every day of your life. That's a huge compliment.
Yeah.
More so than a magazine printing it or, Daryl Hall and John Oates using it on Facebook or Instagram. If you have that photo and you like it enough, you're going to put it on your wall. That's like the ultimate compliment.
Completely. That is so cool. Yeah, I would say so. Okay, so what is, I already asked you about your photography. So what is your most memorable radio moment?
Oh, geez. I don't know. A couple of them I can't really say on the air.
Oh, oh
no. I don't know. I think working at NCX and when I met Michael Stanley, I was the overnight guy, so I wasn't around there during the day that much. And I'd met Michael a couple times, just kind of in passing. But I knew how to run a Pro Tools multi-track, recording system.
Yeah.
And that's what they used at NCX for their production, for all their commercials and stuff. So whenever the production guy was gone on vacation or, not there, they would have me come in, take me off the overnight and have me come in and do production. And so I was doing production one day, and right before 3:00 when Michael was to come on, the program director, Bill Lewis, came in and said, "Michael got a flat tire, can't come on the air. You got to do a show." I said, "Okay." And it was oh my God, it was a blast. I mean, that show had more listeners than all the other shows combined. And it was just so much fun. And I had a great time doing it. And the next day I'm back in the production studio doing my thing. And Michael comes in to do a show and came in and said he really liked the show. And from then on, whenever he was not there, I was the one that did his show. And it was just so much fun and just such a huge compliment.
Yeah.
And me and Michael became friends. And then when I started doing the photos, he had me start to come out to do his shows. And used my photos on a bunch of his CDs. And the band photo they used from like 2006 till the end was a photo of the whole band taken on the back of the stage at Tower City Amphitheater. And he used that photo to promote every show. That was the band photo they used for every show from 2006 till the end. And driving up to MGM and seeing it on the outside marquee on the big screen and stuff, or seeing it on posters or just all the different places that they used that photo. Was always a thrill. And I think probably the biggest thrill was doing Michael's show.
Yeah.
That was just a lot of fun. I had a lot of fun at a place called Q92 in Canton, a top 40 station. I was my last real radio job. I was promotion director there, and I was also on the morning show. And that morning show was off the rails, man. A guy named
it was fun.
DeLuca.
I used to
you remember DeLuca?
DeLuca, yeah.
That DeLuca show was fucking great, man. I worked during the day till 5, but I would come in there at 6 a.m. just because the morning show was so fun. And they had a 30 share. The second place station had like an 8, and they had a 30 share. I mean, their ratings were so. I've never seen a morning show besides like Howard Stern that had ratings. They were through the roof like that.
Yeah.
I was there for about 5 years, and that was a lot of fun. But the owner, again, the owner was just unbearable. So DeLuca and Charlotte ended up quitting because of the owner. They had a big legal battle for a year or two. And once DeLuca left, I left shortly after and started doing my day job thing.
Yeah.
That was about 10 years ago. And I've been working from home for that music distributor for the last 10 years.
Wow.
And I do some radio shows and stuff for them. So I'm still doing some radio stuff, but it's more like a private kind of thing for indie artists for this distribution network.
Nice. Yeah, that's hard when somebody I think everything starts to go downhill when somebody they quit, and it's like,
Well, everybody in that whole building hated the owner. because he was just a nasty, just person that was impossible to deal with. And if he knew that he was pissing you off, he was like delighted in that, and he would go even further because he knew he was the owner and there was nothing you could do. And he was. I've worked with thousands of people through the different kinds of work that I've done and all the gigs and all the stuff. He was probably the worst out of anybody.
It's hard to work with people and their egos.
And we would always talk shit about him on the air, and he really couldn't do much because DeLuca had a 30 share. But it was every light bulb in the radio station had a number written on it with the Sharpie. Okay. He had a legal pad that had all the numbers written on it and the date that he gave somebody a light bulb to replace that light. So if a light bulb burned out and you unscrewed it and took it back to him because he kept them locked up because he was such a jerk off, you took him the light bulb and said, "Hey, I need a new light bulb." He would look at the legal pad. "Well, I just replaced that a couple months ago. Somebody's stealing light bulbs and I'm not going to give you one."
What a cheap asshole.
Like that. He would lock up the toilet paper.
Oh my God.
I'm there on a weekend. I'm doing a remote. I get back to the station like 9 p.m. on a Saturday. I got to take a shit. There's no fucking toilet paper.
I would probably cry. I have a bathroom problem anyway.
I discovered a secondary use. I discovered a secondary use for coffee filters.
Honey, why are you wearing 2 pairs of socks to work?
Yeah. And people would keep their own stashes of toilet paper because he had a cabinet where he kept it locked up because he was convinced people were stealing it and taking it home.
That is so horrible. Oh my God, that would be horrible.
And if you multiply that by 100 stories a year, that's what that guy was all about.
Yeah.
So that was my last commercial radio job.
Nice.
And driving from Parma to Alliance every day for 5 years was no fun. That was like 70 miles one way. So
yeah, you know what? I meant to tell you that. Like, I live close to Alliance.
Alliance is a toilet of a city.
Yeah.
Dentists go out of business in Alliance.
Yes. It's very interesting city. I don't quite understand it. There are some parts of it that are like, they got new stores and restaurants, and then you're just like, literally you drive down the road and you don't know where the hell you are. Like, what the hell happens?
everything around Mount Union is nice.
Yeah.
Once you get away from Mount Union, once you get a couple blocks away from the college, that's where like people that are too good for Barberton or that are not good enough for Barberton go. It's like the dregs of Barberton and Ravenna go to Alliance.
Yeah, it's
you won't find a dentist office there. That's for sure.
No. No, I don't think you'll find much of anything. I was literally just there like a week ago. I forget what we had to do, but we drove past the downtown part, and there's literally nothing but abandoned buildings.
I think Alliance is probably the worst Ohio city that I've ever been in. Maybe some of the stretches of Warren and Youngstown where there's just miles and miles of just blight. But see, Alliance isn't really just blight. The buildings aren't really the only blight. There's like people blight. Alliance. If you want to feel good about the place where you live, just go to Alliance for a day.
That's
you'll come back home going, "Oh my God, this place is great."
Man, I live in a freaking mansion. Yeah.
So I did 5 years down there, and man, I probably put 50,000 miles on my car driving, back there all the time down there. So I was glad to get away from that and just work from home. Working from home is the best.
Yeah. Have you thought about going back into it or into any markets in the Cleveland area? Is there anything in the Cleveland area that you'd want to go to? I mean,
there isn't. What iHeart? Go in there and make $18,000 a year or whatever.
Yeah, that's why a lot of people ask me, "Why aren't you in radio? Why? So what? So I can get paid $11 an hour to drive 2 hours?"
They might think they're special and offer you $30,000 a year or whatever, but then you're going to voice track on 12 other markets.
Yeah,
you're going to be doing Sioux Falls or Buffalo or wherever, and so you're basically doing like 5 full-time jobs for the price of one.
Mm-hmm.
I kind of got out of it right before all that voice tracking stuff went in. And I remember when it first started, and I was with a band at a station, I think in Cincinnati. And I walked down the hallway of this radio station, and there's all these production studios, and the doors are open a little crack, and one guy's doing the weather in San Francisco, and the next guy's in this other city, Buffalo Falls or whatever, and they're just all these local guys that just do voice track shows in all these cities. Instead of paying somebody in every city, they pay one person to do 5 cities. And that's why radio is so homogenized, and it's not local anymore. And the whole great thing about radio was the local connection.
Yeah.
Like if you listen to WMMS back in the 70s and the early 80s, and it was a local station, and they were your guys, they were your station. That they talked about shit that happened in your neighborhood.
Right.
You don't really get that now. Not really. It's just homogenized and boring. Not creative. I mean, that Q92 station in Canton, they're still doing the same kind of promotions that they did when me and DeLuca worked there. They haven't thought up anything new in 10 years. They're still doing the same shit.
Yeah, that's not
the same graphics, the same, just they're basically phoning it in,
Yeah, that's not good. Like, the whole point of why I wanted to get into radio is so I can be creative. Yeah.
And I think I touched on it before, but it was an interesting start to be on college radio where I could do anything I wanted. I could play anything I wanted. And then going to like WONE where they have 300 songs in their playlist, and that's all you play. And you play the same 3 Van Halen songs, the same 3 Kiss songs, the same 3 Foreigner songs, and that's all you play.
Yeah.
And to try and sound excited about playing, Cold as Ice by Foreigner for the 5,000th time. That's the scope of being creative on commercial radio. Trying to sound excited about playing another Brick in the Wall after you've played it, 8,000 times.
Yeah.
How do you still sound excited about it? Or you play it twice in the same shift, Some of those songs would repeat in a 6-hour shift. You'd play the same song twice.
Yeah, it's like, it's 5:30. Here's Brick in the Wall. Nice.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Again. Thanks for tuning in.
Oh shit! I gotta find a new way. To get excited about this song.
Like, how do you do that? Like, it's hard.
You can't say, "Oh God, here's that fucking song again."
No, but you want to.
Oh God. When I did overnights at NCX, I would change those songs sometimes, and rather than play another Brick in the Wall or something, I would play something different. Like I don't know. I don't even know an example.
I
would just play like a alternate song from the artist. And man, oh man, would the program director get pissed at me? You play this song by Jeff Beck instead of the one song we play. What the fuck? And
I didn't realize that they get pissy over that.
Oh God,
I used to do
it's
that
in the morning, dude. I played Fearless instead of another Brick in the Wall. I mean,
I did that when I worked at a radio station. I worked at a radio station full time on air in Kentucky, and I changed the song before the news came on because I wanted something different. So I changed the song. It was not a good situation.
Oh, how dare you be creative?
They didn't.
The one program director that was cool about that, Garrett Hart at Rock 107.
He was so nice.
I did 7 to midnight there when they fired Nick Andrews, and I would take my playlist into his office at like 6 o'clock or 6:30 before I started my shift, and he would let me cross off like 5, 6, 7, 10 songs throughout the whole night, 7 to midnight, and I could put my own songs in there.
Yeah, I mean, what does it matter? I mean, I don't understand.
Thing that he ever did. Because I could put in my own songs. I knew listeners liked some of the alternative songs.
Yeah,
and because I could play, sometimes 3 songs an hour that were my own choices. I was so much more excited about playing those songs and playing the same crap that I played before. And
was the Seattle? Was the Seattle at 7? The Seattle at 7. Remember, you used to do that.
Yeah.
Was that like your idea?
Oh, that had been around for years before I was around.
Oh, was it?
Yeah, I wanted to eliminate that because it was just old. But
I wondered.
Garrett was probably the best program director I ever worked for. He's at the Summit now.
Oh, is he?
Yeah, he's been at the summit
Aw,
for quite a while. He's
aw.
a Facebook friend of mine. He's a really good guy. And
Yeah,
he understood, he had decades in radio. He understood that, he gave me that little bit of freedom, and I wouldn't play anything like way off the wall, like some bizarre Frank Zappa song or something like that. But just letting me play alternative songs by the popular bands, a Van Halen song, that never gets played on the radio, that people know because they're rock fans, but just never. It's not one of the 5 or 10 that gets played on the radio.
right.
And the audience loves it because they're not hearing the same shit over and over. I love it because I'm playing something different and I'm excited about it. So it was a win-win for everybody.
Yeah. Man, Rock 107 was so different. Um, it was so much fun when I got to go in there, and I had so much fun working with everybody. And um,
It was great 20 years before that, when it was good rock. I don't know if you remember when they called it good rock. It was just always kind of an irreverent station that didn't follow a lot of the same rules that other stations followed. And they were, privately owned, and they were in this little red house. And that little red house was great, man. I had a lot of fun times in that broken down little red house on was it Martindale Road, I think?
yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
I loved all the promos for it.
Mhm.
One of the promos was like something at the little red house. And I was like, this is so freaking cool. Like, I loved that.
It was a great place. There was great people working there. It was just it was a time that you never see in radio anymore.
Yeah. Unfortunately, it's not like that anymore. It's just
Oh, it's not anywhere near it anymore.
mm-mm. It's all like automated, and yeah.
Most of the time, people aren't even live.
Mhm.
It's just you could come in and voice track a show in 2 hours. So why would they pay you to sit there live for 6?
Right.
Bean counters will never agree to that, So.
Yeah.
Well,
Okay,
that was
guys.
talking about radio going down the toilet. Thanks a lot.
Sorry.
Go back to prepping. Yeah.
Okay, guys, out there, we have a few more minutes left. So if you have any questions for Joe, feel free to ask in the side chat. I appreciate it. And thank you guys for showing up. I had a steady audience in here for most
If
of
I go to the
evening.
YouTube link, will I see the side chat?
Yep.
Okay.
Just make sure you mute your YouTube. That's all.
Yeah. Well, it's not okay. I didn't push play, so.
Okay.
Okay, yeah, cool. I'm there. I don't know if I see any questions though. I don't know if the chat's even moving.
Yep. Hold on. Okay, guys, if you have any questions, feel free to do so. I know Matt Henry just popped in and said something. He said pre-recorded radio.
That's what it mostly is.
Yeah.
And they have some stations that don't even. They just name the artist in the song, and there's just like a computer, a pre-recorded voice, Fleetwood Mac, Dreams, and then the song plays. And
Yeah.
it's for people, I guess, that don't like human interaction or something. I don't know.
Okay.
The DJs were better than the music when like you listen to WMMS and stuff. People tuned in for the DJs just as much as the music. They were your friends. It was so much different and so much more personal and localized, and it hasn't been that way since the mid '90s when all the console. President Clinton changed the Radio Telecommunications Act of 1934, I think it was called, and
Wow.
it used to be the rule from 1934 until 1994 or 1995 that a company can only own 2 radio or TV stations in any given market. And that kept the ownership diverse. It kept the content diverse. There was no monopolies like Clear Channel or Cumulus or any of those. And then in 1994, 1995, that got changed. And now an owner could own 50% of the stations in any market.
Yeah.
And as soon as that happened, Clear Channel and Cumulus and CBS and those major companies bought up over 90% of the stations. And then that's when they started voice tracking and syndicating and firing people, and the pay scales went down the toilet and the content sucked, and it just collectively just went down the toilet and just became what it is now, which is I guess people still listen to it, but I kind of consider it unlistenable.
Honestly, I didn't know Cumulus was still a thing. Like I thought Clear Channel just owned them all.
No, they're still around. They call them Cumulus now, though, because
Oh.
they have no cum in their ratings. Yeah, they're definitely still a thing. They're one of probably the top 3 or the top 4 station owners for sure.
Yeah. Okay, Bob had a question, and he basically asked if you enjoyed working with me. We didn't work together for very long, so in fact, I was surprised when I asked him to do this that he even remembered me. So
yeah, I was on the air 7 to midnight, and you were in the production studio, which was right adjacent to the on-air studio. So yeah, we talked, and I remember you being there and stuff. Sure.
Yeah.
And I don't think we had like long conversations and became fast friends or anything, but I remember you hanging out in the evening. You probably came in there to do production and stuff because nobody was there like they were during the day, I would imagine.
Yeah. Yep.
How long did you just do 1 semester there?
Yeah, I didn't do for very long.
Where were you going to school?
I went to the Ohio Center for Broadcasting.
We got a lot of interns from there. I got a lot of interns from there at Q92.
Yeah.
I had some really bizarre intern experiences too.
Really?
I was at Q92 and I was the promotion director, so I had two interns in my department every semester. I would send them out to remotes. They would do paperwork in the office, give out prizes and mail prizes, do stuff like that.
Yeah.
So I had this one guy from, he was actually from Kent Stark. And I sent him out to a review, to a remote with our 7 to midnight DJ on a weekend at this bar. And do you remember Mo from Q92?
I think so, yeah.
He did 7 to midnights for 3 or 4 years, I think. So the intern would drive the van out to the remote location, set up the broadcast equipment, which is really just a laptop and a mic and stuff, and give away some prizes, set everything up, and then tear everything down. Kind of do all the grunt work for the DJ,
Yeah.
So I'm sitting at home at like 8:30, 9 o'clock on a Saturday, and I'm scrolling through Facebook. And I see this guy's Facebook because I added the intern as a Facebook friend. And he makes this post, and there's a picture of Mo sitting at the Q92 broadcast booth. And it's like, I hate this fucking guy. This place is a dump. My food sucks. And it's funny now, but I was aghast because this place had like a $10,000 advertising contract with them.
Oh, that just makes me sick.
So I shut that down really quick, and I fired the guy the next morning, and the owner was pissed that I fired the guy. And the professor at Kent Stark was pissed that I fired the guy.
He insulted a major...
I had a screenshot of it, and I sent it to the professor, and he goes, well, this is his last credits to graduate. So if he doesn't pass this internship, he's got to take a class next semester.
No, he should have thought of that. Great.
I'm like, thanks for telling me that. That makes me happy.
Should have thought of that before he opened his mouth.
Dude, for a week, I argued with him. I argued with the owner of the station. I argued with this kid's parents. Oh, give him another chance. I go, if he would have said, maybe I'm not having fun here, but my food sucks. I hate this fucking guy. I mean, come on.
I know. That's horrible.
They were all ganging up on me. It was like the Twilight Zone. I'm like, why? How can these people not understand this? So finally, after a week, the professor says, I'm just going to give him the credits anyway. And I said, oh, no, you're not. And so I contacted the dean at the college. And I said, if this happens, I'm going to go public. And I gave him a bunch of bullshit. I'm like, I do photos for all these magazines. We're going to write stories about this, and it's going to be a big news story. You give that guy credit, and I'm going to be your worst fucking enemy. And they didn't give him credit, and he had to go back the next semester and take one class. And he didn't get to graduate with his graduating class because he had to graduate the next year. And the station manager, the guy who locked up the toilet paper, he was pissed at me for a long time about that.
Yeah, but you can't. That's like a known thing in radio. You can't.
It's a known thing anywhere. If you work for Pepsi, you don't go online and go, I hate Pepsi.
Right. I mean, that would fire anybody. Would, like, if Pepsi found out about that, they would fire you.
Well,
like
the dude's graduating college. I mean, he's what, 22 years old? You should. I would think somebody would know better. But
Yeah.
I guess I hear stuff all the time about people in major corporations get fired for posting stupid stuff on
Right.
Facebook or on social media.
Yeah, that's
Um,
ridiculous.
yeah, interns were all I had great interns that were really phenomenal. On just the complete other side of the coin. Um, the first interns that I hired, this one girl's named Julie Brothers, and we didn't really get along too well at first, but we became really, really close friends. And she interned, I think, for 2 semesters, and I really loved her. She was great. And she decided she was going to go to New York City with whatever money she had and afford a couple apartment for however long, a couple months or
Yeah.
6 months or whatever. And she was going to find a job, and she was going to she wanted to work in TV in New York City, so that's where she went. And I wrote her a really good letter of recommendation. And now she works for Last Night Tonight with John Oliver, or Late Night Tonight with John Oliver. You know, the John Oliver HBO show.
Yeah.
She's a field producer for that show.
Nice.
And she started off like as a receptionist at some reality TV company, and then she went on the road and was shooting shows in Greenland and stuff. And so
Wow.
I had the douche intern that I fired for being an idiot, and then I had this girl who made it to New York City, and she's on one of the top rated shows. And that show's won like
Yeah.
a bunch of Emmy, like daytime Emmys and stuff, or whatever
Yeah.
whatever they call the Emmys that they give out to those shows.
I really admire somebody that can just go out there and do that, because living in New York and stuff like that, that's not easy.
Oh no.
So yeah, I admire that. That's really cool. And to still kick ass at it,
And I love that I'm still in touch with her after all these years, and just seeing her do really great and stuff. And you can do it if you try. You can tackle. I tackled stuff that I never ever thought I could ever do just because I went for it. The best advice I ever had was always ask. The worst thing that can happen is they say no.
Yeah.
I asked for so many things that I never thought would be attainable, and I got some of them. Just because I had the audacity to really go after it. And I encourage everybody to do that. Follow what you want. I mean, not that I have a dream career or anything, but I never thought I was going to be on radio in major markets or do any of that kind of stuff. Those kind of jobs are really limited when you look at other occupations,
Yeah.
But always go for it. If they say no, move on to something else.
Yeah, you've had a really fascinating career, and it
I
sounds
should have
like
been a doctor or something. I would have made a lot more money. It has been fun though, and I could have probably went that path because I was always I perplexed the principals and stuff in my high school and stuff, because I was the long-haired burnout that hung out with the wrong people, but I was always on the honor roll at the same time. And everybody tried to push me to do something like doctor, lawyer, or one of those kind of occupations, but I just always wanted to work in music. I just always loved music, and I would rather do something that was fun for less money.
Yeah.
Do you think a proctologist enjoys his job?
No. Can you imagine a gynecologist?
How does a gynecologist come home from work and be excited about his wife?
Oh, I can't wait to go to work today.
How does that happen? How does a gynecologist go home and go, man, take your pants off, honey. You had a great day today.
Exactly. Oh. Okay, guys, do you have any other questions out there? Hello, Sam Lashley.
Any gyno questions?
Yeah, any Joe can answer them for you.
I can.
Shoot, Joe, I was your favorite intern, says Sam Lashley.
Oh, Sam Lashley was awesome. I still talk to her a lot on Facebook. She was one of the good ones for sure.
Aw. Well, thanks for coming in and hanging out with us tonight.
Yeah, thank you, Sam.
Thank you so much. Lord.
I think Sam's in Columbus now.
Oh, okay. That's fun. I used to have a lot of fun.
I'm glad I brought at least somebody here. I was thinking if nobody came here that knew me, I would feel like a failure.
No.
Thank you, Sam, for making me not feel like a failure.
Old Way says, just another day in Twatville.
What? Twatville?
Yeah.
What you said?
Yeah. Oh, that's hilarious. Question: what was the reasoning for firing DJs without any notice to listeners?
I don't know. They used to like to do that where they wouldn't even let you say goodbye to your audience. And maybe they were afraid that if you knew you were fired and you were on the air, after you knew you were going to be fired, that you would just say horrific stuff about the station or, just unleash a barrage of profanity so they got an FCC fine or something like that.
Yeah.
But that was in other jobs too that did that. Like when I got let go from a job that was with an entertainment company, they would always let people go Friday at 5 o'clock. You're walking out, think you're going home to the weekend, and they stop you at the door and say, "Oh yeah, here's a box. Go back to your office, and you're not coming back." That's just the way they like to do things. I think it minimizes their risk. I think, which is probably why they do it.
Yeah.
Because I'm sure you've seen, if you go on YouTube, you'll see videos of people that quit their jobs on the air. And there's been TV anchors, quit this bitch, F you. And, I've seen people do stuff like that. So that's probably a way of them trying to minimize their risk of having volatile people on the air,
Yeah. Angry individuals.
Mm-hmm.
Sam just said they just did it to, I don't know who Lopper and Randy are on the Blitz. I don't know who that is.
Blitz is a Columbus station.
Oh, okay.
And those companies too are just infamous for just bloodletting and another thing that those stations like to do, and even the local stations like WONE have done this a couple times, and it really made me lose a lot of respect for that owner of WONE because that was my first radio job and I loved that place. But they changed formats of one of their stations a couple different times, and they fired the entire staff like a week or 2 or 3 before Christmas in December. So you got kids and got a family, and they fucking fire you right before Christmas.
Yeah.
And I just thought that was just a really shitty thing to do.
Yeah, that is a shitty thing
wait
to do.
till January. I mean, maybe it's a financial thing or whatever, but who cares? Wait till January or something. After a lot of stations do that too. They bloodlet right around Christmas.
Mm-hmm.
And you got someone who's been a dedicated employee for a decade, and then you just throw them out. December 15th.
Yeah. That's horrible.
And I'm always the bad guy because I talk about stuff like that. That owner from WONE is a jerk off for doing that, for firing a whole staff like that. Fuck that guy. He inherited millions of dollars, from what I understand, which is how he bought the station back in the 80s. And then he can let go of staff of people who are kind of paycheck to paycheck people with families. That's just bullshit. That's just complete bullshit. And that's what radio's become. That's it wasn't a good business when it was good. It's really not a good business now.
Right. Yeah. I am glad. There's no way I could have raised a family and felt comfortable. I mean,
even if you watch the Howard Stern movie back from the 70s, every 4 or 5 years he's going to a new station until he got huge.
Yeah.
And that's what, if you really wanted to be a huge radio guy back then, that's what you had to do. I never really was at a station for more than 5 years. There was a lot of stations that had good ratings, but it's just, that's kind of the cycle. There's always, your landmark people who have been around forever, but the majority of people at the majority of stations do not really have long lifespans. The business doesn't encourage long lifespans like that.
Unless you get a morning show and you have contracts.
Yeah, and even those contracts suck. I mean, I always hated the non-compete aspect of a contract. So if I work for you and I quit, just because I quit, now I'm not allowed to work at any station within 100 miles? What kind of shit is that?
Yeah.
You quit your job and you're forbidden to work anywhere else. That's just ridiculous. And I signed a few of them because I had to. But you shouldn't have, nobody should have the ability to
restrict that.
To not allow somebody to work after they leave a job. You're forbidden to work within 100 miles.
That's really crappy.
It is, and that's pretty well. When DeLuca left, they actually set a legal precedent. When DeLuca left Q92, they started an online radio show, and the owner of the station, the toilet paper guy, he sued them, saying that the online radio show violated their non-compete because it could be heard in the city where the radio station was. and the courts ruled in DeLuca's favor, but it was a legal precedent-setting thing. And then all of a sudden, the contracts changed, and now in the contracts, part of the non-compete is that you can't do an online show for however long of a period of time after you leave.
Wow.
So yeah, you want a job, you want the money, you got to sign it. And it's too bad that those kind of things haven't been somehow eliminated in court and like ruled against in court and stuff. But they haven't. They've actually gotten worse.
Yeah, so they keep you from having a job in your career.
Yeah.
For how
because they know you're popular and they don't want you going to the competition.
That's crappy. It's really crappy.
That's the business.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, you did a good thing by getting out.
Yeah, I just didn't want to. I'm just not. I really love doing radio. It's fun. I love being creative. I just don't like the competitive aspect of it. I don't like that you're here 1 minute and then the next minute you're gone kind of thing. I don't like that at all. Yeah,
I really like doing it too. And for some reason, it was just I when the song would end and the mic would come on, it was just fun.
Yeah,
I had a good time relating to people and stuff, and people seemed to like it. But it wasn't outside of the microphone being on. It wasn't a great environment a lot of times. The companies that owned the places weren't really great people, weren't great to work for. I worked for a lot more shitty stations than I did good ones. There were some great stations I worked for that I loved, like NCX and stuff, but there was other places that just, like that place in Savannah and stuff, that just sucked, that were terrible.
Yeah.
The weirdest part of my career after doing rock radio for so long was I did country radio in Savannah for about.
I'm sorry, I cannot picture you doing country radio.
Probably 8 months. I did country radio.
That's funny.
I have some clips of that somewhere on my website. It was interesting. That was right before I moved back. I moved back to work at NCX and quit the country station. And man, I couldn't have been happier to quit any place than that country station.
I worked. Okay, I really wanted to work for rock stations because that's what I'm into, and I love rock music. And then I got stuck at a light station. And I was like, this is elevator music. I'm playing Huey Lewis in the news.
Yeah, I took the country station as a challenge. I knew nothing about country. I like the old school country guys like Roy Clark and stuff like that. Chet Atkins. But I took it as a challenge because I knew nothing about it, and it was rock radio I could do in my sleep. Country radio was hard because I didn't know anything about it.
Yeah.
And you don't want to pronounce any of those guys' names wrong or anything. You look like a fool. But it was in a way it was fun. I did a 7 to midnight shift on a country station down there, and it was fun. But in a sense it was fun, but in a sense it wasn't. I was glad to come to NCX in Cleveland, in my hometown, and overnight radio there was fun. People think, the overnight nobody listens or whatever, but man, there's a lot of third shift people that will listen to your show. I would put them on the air and interact with them, and have big factories that would listen and stuff. And the overnight audience was pretty sizable, and it's a different group of people that work third shift. A more irreverent, nasty, drinking kind of crowd, which I kind of gelled with more than the daytime crowds, I think.
Yeah, and that's why my show here is late night. I usually start at 11.
Mm-hmm.
And then we'll go to like 3 a.m. typically. So yeah,
So does that mean we have like 3 more hours?
No, that's not tonight. Not tonight. But yeah, typically I go, 11 to God knows when on Sundays and Friday nights.
Okay.
And,
so why are we on Wednesday?
Well, Wednesday, I usually would do 11 o'clock on Wednesdays. I had to switch it up because my son is going to school.
Oh, you mentioned I didn't think Wednesday was your regular night, but obviously
yeah, it is. If normally I would go on at 11, but I have changed my schedule for my son. So
okay.
Gunslinger says, hey, Courtney, don't mess with Huey. Huey Lewis in the
Yeah,
news.
Huey's not bad. I can name a lot worse than Huey.
That's funny. But yeah.
Huey's about 3 steps up the ladder from Hootie and the Blowfish.
Oh my gosh. Remember when Hootie and the Blowfish first came out? I swear, I Only Want to Be With You played every 5 minutes on the radio.
I think he's a successful country guy now.
Yeah, he is. Yeah, he has a really great voice.
Mm-hmm.
I think he's really a good person too. I think he's a stand-up person as well. But yeah, you can only listen to that song so
there was a lot of songs like that from new artists that would come out and would basically be the equivalent of going viral back in the day, and the radio would play them every 3 hours. You do an 8-hour shift, sometimes you play a song 3 or 4 times, and it was interesting. I mean, because the attention span of the radio listener was only 20 minutes or a half hour, so that's why they did that.
Yeah, that's his name, Darius Rucker. Thank you.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Don't think I've ever known anybody else named Darius.
Yeah, I don't know either. Oh, thanks, Kathy Bates. I'm so glad you're here. Kathy Bates is our resident nun. No, she's
Kathy
not.
Bates is a nun?
She's not a nun, but she claims she is. So thank you so much for being here.
Does she aspire to be a nun?
No.
Does she at least wear a nun costume?
If that is the case, she is the dirtiest nun I have ever met in my life.
See, she could dress up like a penguin and people would think she was a nun.
It was funny though, because I have a person that comes on, usually he comes on from India, and he's like, "Oh, Kathy Bates, so nice to meet you. I didn't know you were a nun." And I'm like, I just go like this. I am like, I can't believe it. She convinced you she's a nun. She's not a nun.
Probably get a lot of free meals if you walk into a place in a nun's outfit,
There you go, Kathy Bates. Think about it.
If you ever don't have money for food, just put that costume on, man. How did we get to talking about nuns?
She just mentioned it in the side chat, so. A full costume is an extra $100. That thing is hot.
Probably hide a bottle of vodka in it, though,
Oh, there you go.
Yeah.
Freebird. Oh my gosh, yes. You only play Freebird if you have to take a shit.
One of my proudest radio moments was at WNCX, and probably 3:30 in the morning or something. I'm doing the overnight shift, and all of a sudden I had to shit really, really, really bad. and there was nothing but short songs for the rest of the hour. So I put on "Satisfaction" by the Rolling Stones, and I ran down the hallway and took a shit and made it back like right as the song was fading out. I think it's like 2 minutes and 30 seconds or something.
Oh my gosh.
And I ran down this hallway, which probably took about 30 seconds to run down the hallway and 30 seconds back. And that's one of the proudest radio moments. I was able to do that.
See, you guys, that's some real poop troop stories right there.
Taking one like during Kashmir is easy, I could take one, wash my hands, and hit the vending machine during Kashmir. For Freebird or one of those songs,
Yeah, that's hilarious.
If you ever see a Gatorade bottle with lemon Gatorade in it in the studio, you kind of know what it's in there for.
Yeah, that's a no-go. Like that would gross me out.
PlayStation that plays those short songs, yeah.
That's right, Bob. He is a true pooper trooper.
So that story makes me a pooper trooper?
It does.
Excellent.
100%. Oh, Kathy Bates says, Joe, if you need to confess, I can help.
We should do a confession show.
Yeah. Oh, it's Kathy. You need to have your own show. Confess with Kathy Bates.
That's right. Oh my God, that would be a great show. People just come on and tell their deepest, darkest confessions.
That'd be hilarious.
I was just watching the Blues Brothers with the nun, when they're at the top of the stairs.
Yeah.
And Belushi calls her a fat penguin, and he falls down the stairs in his little school desk.
Oh Lord. Okay. Yossi, that's a little much. I don't want to know how fast your poop is. Thank you. Okay, guys. Any other questions before we head out? It's getting close. And yeah. So if you have any questions for Joe, put them out there. And True Confessions next Wednesday at 7 p.m. Wind Down Wednesdays, True Confession. Big poop. Put Alice.
I think a confession show. I think a confession show would be really popular.
Yeah, that'd be great.
Get like a confessional, put a fake priest in there, and pull back the curtain, and there's some degenerate guy, giving his confessions. That would be a good show.
Yeah, it probably yeah.
I would give my confessions on that show. And then he could give them like really bizarre penances, and then they'd have to go out and do some bizarre penance,
Oh, that'd be horrible, but funny.
I think I just wrote a reality show.
I think you did. Joe, let's me and you commit a sin, and we will have to confess. Oh my God, Kathy, you're killing me.
Only if you wear the nun costume.
Oh Lord, you better watch because Kathy Bates lives in Ohio.
Oh, no. I'm really not in Parma. I was lying about that.
Yeah, Joe has a YouTube concept. Only thing is like you would have to really, really watch what people say. YouTube would cut that shit off in a minute.
Yeah, true. Well, depending, yeah.
Homestead confessionals on my channel soon.
There you go.
There we go.
And you could build a confessional so easily. Like in a closet or something.
You could just do a cardboard box.
Closeted Confessions. That's the name of the show.
Hold on a second. Let me get in my cardboard box.
Yeah, the Closeted Confessional.
Oh Lord. That's hilarious. I mean, if it's role playing, is it really sin? Loophole. Uh-oh. Kathy! I'm not saying that out loud.
Oh, come on. Now I got to go over there and look at it.
It says, okay, I'll say it. It says, I'm Sicilian nun. I can take Joe to the lake and bury his snake. Kathy!
All right, then.
She's hilarious. She's so dirty, though. I love her, though. I love her. She's hilarious. Oh. All right, y'all. I'm going to go ahead and end chat. Thank you guys for coming in and hanging out with us tonight. Thank you, Joe, for being here.
Yeah,
I really appreciate it. I hope I asked you good questions. So
I hope I didn't with my stories.
No, I'm sure everybody loved them. And yeah, so.
Well, I appreciate you having me on. Maybe we'll do it again sometime.
Yeah, definitely. Anytime you want to come up, just let me know.
If the confession show happens, give me a call because I want to be a part of it.
Okay, that'd be hilarious.
I'll make a cameo as the Pope.
Okay. Oh gosh, that'd be hilarious.
I'll be the Pope.
Kathy Bates, we may need you.
I'll put my wizard costume on and I'll be the Pope.
Okay.
Why do priests and popes dress like wizards? You ever wonder that?
I don't know.
I mean, look at them and then look at the real crazy Dungeons and Dragons players. And they dress up for the conventions and stuff, and they look the same.
Yeah, they always wear the big robes.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I don't know.
Those robes are scary.
Oh, Kathy! Oh my Lord! Yeah, I love you.
Yeah, Kathy. You should probably go. Are these comments preserved when people replay the show?
Yeah.
Nice. Okay, nice.
All right. Well, thank you guys for coming in tonight. I appreciate it. I know this was an early time and I was curious how this was going to work, but I had more people in here than normal. So
Oh,
I
nice.
appreciate it. Yeah.
I didn't even mute my camera for personal reasons or anything.
You didn't have to blow your nose.
No, there was like no there was no ball adjustment or anything, you know.
So yeah, but thank you guys. I really appreciate it. Thank you all my moderators and everything like that. And we will see you all. I have a class Friday afternoon at noon. So feel free to show up for the herbal class and we will see you all Friday. Have a good one, y'all.
Take care.